Hello and welcome to this module of the PRINCE2 training. So in this module, today we are going to talk about the progress theme. Now the progress theme is basically all about how we are going to monitor and control the progress in our project. The progress theme basically facilitates the evaluation of the actual project progress against what was planned. And this is achieved basically by comparing two different sets of management products, which is the plans and the business case. Now, when we look at this very carefully, the plans basically articulates the expected inputs in terms of the effort, resources, time, cost, and finally reports this in the actual values for each of these different variables. So, by monitoring the information captured in the reports against the expectations contained within the plans, the project manager is basically able to minimize the variation between the anticipated and the actual progress. So progress is thus concerned with control, that is making sure that the project remains viable with regards to its business case and that it achieves the intended results by basically generating the products that fulfill the specified criteria, and that it remains within the designated constraints. Okay, now let's look at the purpose of the progress theme. The purpose of the progress theme is basically to establish mechanisms to monitor and compare actual achievements against those planned, to provide a forecast for the project objectives and the project's continued viability and control any unacceptable deviations. So let's understand what the progress theme is all about. The progress theme is about measuring progress and the achievement of objectives, PRINCE2's requirements for managing progress, tolerances, controls and management by exception, and finally progress evaluation and peer review. Okay, so let us understand what the purpose of the progress theme is. So we've already seen this in a couple of slides before, but let's break it down a bit more. So the purpose of the progress theme basically is threefold. One is to establish mechanisms to compare, monitor actual achievements against what is planned, to provide the forecast for the project objectives and the project's viability, and to control unacceptable deviations. So ideally, the progress control will help us to measure the achievement of the objectives of the plan, ensure that the project remains viable against the business case, measure progress against the 6 aspects of project performance, which is benefits, cost, time, quality, risk, and scope. Progress information will also be used to make specific decisions, such as to approve a management stage or a work package, to escalate deviations, or to prematurely close the project, take action as required. And we need to understand that the progress is monitored at all 3 levels of the project, which is at the project level, the stage level, and the work package level. To be effective, PRINCE2 requires that there is a defined approach to controlling progress in the project initiation document. The project is managed by stages. Tolerances are set and managed by exceptions. You review the business case when exceptions are raised and finally learn lessons. So ideally what we see from here is that PRINCE2 provides progress controls through tolerances, which means delegating authority from one level to the next level. Divide the project into management stages. Authorize one stage at a time in the project. We also control the project by 2 kinds of reports, which is what we also call as the time-driven reports and the event-driven reports. So what is a time-driven report? A time-driven report ideally is a report that is sent or monitored at a frequency that is already specified. So for example, if you look at the management products, the highlight report or the checkpoint report, these are time-driven reports. Next is you have the event-driven reports. Event-driven reports generally come when an event occurs. So your end stage report. End of stage is basically an event. End of project or an issue report or a risk report or an exception report These are the various forms of event-driven reports. And these two types of reports form a very important part of the progress team. Now, time-driven reports are ideally used for monitoring and controlling the project, whereas event-driven reports are made for decision-making. Finally, we also talk about raising exceptions as and when exceptions occur. PRINCE2 does not prescribe a particular approach to managing progress. Any approach that meets the requirements described can be said to be following PRINCE2. So let's look at delegating and reporting. Now we know that a PRINCE2 project is managed by exception against the 6 types of tolerances. So the tolerances are basically set for benefits, cost, quality, risk, scope and time. If one is running out of tolerance, then you can use the other one as a leverage. So for example, you can use tolerance and scope to save time and money. Now let's look at the organization structure that is there in PRINCE2. So we've already seen in the organization theme about the 4 levels of management that are there in an organization and the 3 levels that comes which is in part of PRINCE2. So you have the corporate or program management. So the corporate or program management, which actually sits outside PRINCE2, sets the tolerance for the entire project. And they hand over the project to be done to the project board. The project board then breaks down the project into stages and gives one stage at a time to the project manager. Now when they give a stage to the project manager, the original tolerances that were set for the entire project are now broken down into stage level. So every stage that comes down to the project manager to work on, there are tolerances set for those stages also. A stage may contain multiple work packages and those work packages are then given by the project manager to the team manager setting work package level tolerances. The team manager then works on the work packages and gives back the completed work package to the project manager. In between, they will report if there are any issues, or they will also report if there are new risks identified. If anything goes into exception, it's an issue at the work package level. So these will be reported to the project manager along with the completed work package. So in case everything runs smooth, the completed work package goes back to the project manager. Once all the work packages for that particular stage are completed, the completed stage goes back to the project board. Now in case there are issues found within the stage level itself and any of the stage goes out of exceptions or goes into an exception situation, then an exception report is prepared and given to the project board. And then the exception mechanism will be put in place to ensure that it is brought back under control. And finally, the project board will give a completed project back to the corporate or program management.